All right. Hey guys, welcome back on crypto. It is Friday, August 26, 2022, 3:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So in today's content, we'll talk about BTC. We'll take a look at BTC on a 3D basis all the way up to the quarterly time frame, and try to figure out what type of price action we could anticipate over the next like a few weeks, and and so on, right? So if you're new to our content, don't forget to hit the likes. Don't forget to join the public Telegram group, link in the description. If you want to upgrade to our premium group, link in the description for the Discord premium group and all that good stuff. All right. So let me know if the sound is good. So I think the sound is good. Okay, no sound check. So we'll start off with the 3D time frame, right? Before we talk about the 2D basis, right? So if we take a look at BTC on Gemini, right? We can clearly see, even though price action is dumping as we said right previously, since like mid-August, right? Be cautious about the 3D 211 EMA resistance right here, because that's going to be our biggest challenge, right, in Q3. So we said it early, early Q3 in our premium. We were saying like, just be cautious. Yes, it can pump all the way up to the weekly 211 EMA and all that good stuff. But if you get a good average somewhere around like a 24k and higher, you could just be patient for the next like a few weeks after that for the next reversal down to retest the 0.786, 0.888, or even down to the low 16k, depending on the volatility, right? However, even though price action is dumping, right, you can see our MACD on our 3D basis, it is still positive. So we do not have yet a high confidence level like, hey, price action can dump below the 17k and lower. All right, so we just need to monitor over the next like a few days, right, to see if the MACD will cross negative. Okay, if we get a negative crossover right here, things could get very, very interesting. The next few weeks after that and all that good stuff. Okay, if we get a very high volatility, if we could get a MACD right like that, we could get a possible divergence, right, where your MACD going to be double bottoming, something like that. Okay, if we get a weak crossover, MACD could do something like that, right? So where we could get a possible divergence like that. Excuse me. So the angle of the divergence, right, will dictate the type of pattern we will get in here. So the lower the flatter the divergence, right, the lower we will drop. Okay, so something to basically keep in mind going forward. So basically, excuse me. So basically, just to keep it short for the 3D time frame, we just have to be very, very cautious, right, being too bearish while the 3D MACD, it is still positive. Okay, so if you short it at 24k, you're still pretty safe. All you have to do is just put a stop loss, right? Not financial advice, right? Just put a stop loss and let the market do the work for the next like a few days or even like a few weeks and all that good stuff. It is not a day trading setup, so just have to be patient with the trend. And I said it since like early August and all that good stuff. Okay, so now let's take a look at BTC on a 2D basis. When we take a look at the 2D basis, we getting exactly what we needed. We needed at least a 6 to 7% dump, and if you take a look at it right here, we just dumped like nearly 5.5. Okay, so that's pretty good. So it is giving us a strong negative crossover right now. Right now we're getting a very convincing, right, negative crossover on our MACD. So that's pretty good. Price action is below the 21 EMA, price action below the 50, below the 100. So there is no danger as of now for the bears. The only thing they need to do is just to basically put a stop loss and let the market do the work. Okay, if you want to take a look at it in terms of parallel channel, let's do this. All right, you could make, right, an argument, right, we below the channel. Okay, but it all depends how you want to draw it, right? If you don't want to use these tools, right, you could draw it manually, something like that, and still say we're still in the channel. Okay, so it is kind of subjective, right, depending on how you're looking at the market. Some other people are only, you know, paying attention to the wedge pattern, right, like that. Some other traders possibly only paying attention to the wedge pattern and not paying attention to these parallel channels and all that good stuff. All right, but either way you look at it, right, you know, based on the 2D time frame and the daily time frame, the trend, okay, you could have basically spotted it based on your RSI pretty early. Okay, on a daily basis, we said it right here during the first week of August. If you take a look at it right here, we spotted the downtrend pretty much very early, right after the retest of the trend line right here. We said just be cautious, right, as long as we break below the trend line, right. We broke the trend line somewhere around like August 15, and we started to dump like below 24K, and I said, okay guys, let's pack our bags, right. Even though we're not yet at the support trend line, you don't want to be waiting for the support trend line to short, because, you know, sucker could do something like that and hit your stop loss and still dump lower. Okay, so it is kind of very aggressive, right, to be shorting BTC below 20K. I wouldn't short it below 20K, even though everything is pointing down. I wouldn't be shorting it. That's why I was basically making sure, right, we got in around like a 24K or higher and just sit tight and relax. Okay, the worst case scenario was like BTC to go and retest the you know, daily 100 EMA. That time the daily 100 EMA was around like 26K, but it is a moving average. Even though it was at 26K, right now take a look at it, it is at 25.1. So that was the worst case scenario, and we did not know how long it'll take for BTC to retest it. Okay, so that's why I was saying the 3D 21 EMA was good enough for the bears just to you know, take a short and be patient for the next like following week, for the next like you know, few weeks after that and all that good stuff. Okay, so on the daily basis, we spotted the downtrend right here, right. So price action was way above the support trend line, and MACD was at the trend line, so that was a divergence. Okay, so sometimes a divergence is not only like, you know, bearish divergence or like a bullish divergences and all that good stuff. Those bullish divergences you can easily spot, right. But if your indicator is at the support trend line, right, but your price action is away, you know, your price action is way above your support trend line, you know, it is a divergence. At some point price action will need to retest the support trend line. That's why I was you know, pretty convinced, right, we could be retesting the support trend line and possibly drop below it and all that good stuff, right. So now let's take a look at BTC in terms of Fibonacci. So we're done with the, you know, 3D time frame all the way down to the daily time frame. We talk about the MACD and RSI and all that good stuff. So now it is time to focus on what? On our Fibonacci. Okay, so we knew, okay, we had a pretty good chance to drop low. Okay, after we broke down what we said, we're going to be paying attention, right, to just about like a 50% pullback right here, just about like the low 20K, right, and we could move sideways and create another pattern right here. Okay, so we did move sideways, created a flat correction, right, on the low degree between 50% up to 382. Now we almost at 0.618. Will we get a strong support at 0.618? I don't know. It doesn't look like we're going to get a strong support, because if you take a look at the MACD right here, it doesn't look that strong. Okay, it is strongly pushing down, so we just don't have any sign of a possible reversal on a daily. Okay, so 0.618, yes, we could get a temporary support, but I don't know if we will get a permanent support in this range. Okay, if it will be a permanent support for this range, meaning like retesting 0.618 and going back up to like a 26 and all that good stuff. Okay, it could just be a temporary support to move sideways between you know, 20K to 21K, just like what happened right here, where we moved like between like 207 up to basically you know, 21.7. You see what I'm saying? So I wouldn't be trusting any, you know, any bounce, right, or bounces around the 20K area as of now. Okay, the next downside support going to be right here, 50%. I mean, it's 0.786, right? If it breaks the 0.618, right, that's going to be the 0.786 at 19k, right, down to a 0.888, going to be 18.3. Okay, that's going to be the temporary support, right? And if it breaks it, right, it could go all the way down to 17.5 or even down to a low 16k. Why low 16k? Because we got our 1.27 to 1.41 extension all the way down to you know, 16k area. Okay, to be exact, it is like 15.9 and all that good stuff, but I think like 16.3 down to a 15.9 range is going to be a good level to pay attention to once we get enough data. Okay, and once again, the reason why we have to just pay attention to 1.27 extension is like, if we go back on a 3D basis, right? If we go back on a 3D basis, we just don't know what type of divergence. I just mentioned it, right? We don't know what type of divergence we're going to get. Is it going to be a divergence like that, right? Or is it going to be a divergence, right, like that? In yellow, I mean orange, right? So we don't know. Okay, it could be a double bottom, right? It could be a complete double bottom, or it could possibly, right, create another lower low right here. Right there. Okay, so we don't know which one will play out. We could get the bottom somewhere around like 18 to 17, or even down to 17.5, or even down to you know, 16k area. So it all depends, once again, what type of you know, crossover we will get, right, on the 3D MACD. If the 3D MACD decides to basically cross negative, it's not yet negative, so bears, you don't want to get too excited. Yes, you shorted at 24, you know, we nearly 4,000 points below the I mean, yes, nearly 4,000 points below the you know, top right here. But you cannot get too confident, because you just don't know what the you know, what the bull's going to be doing over the next like a few days and so on. So the best thing to do is just to stay with the trend, be cautious, be patient, and wait for a proper setup for a reversal. You know, if you're a bull, if you're a bear, you just sit tight, relax. Okay, wait for another basically proper setup and all that good stuff, and stay with the trend if you're already shorted and all that good stuff. All right. We got XRP Dan in the house. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We got Quiet Cook in the house. Pablo S Crypto 589 in the house. Manadi in the house. Manadi. What's our current target? I mean, if you just join our community, right, the public group and all that good stuff, the target is nothing but 18,000, right, down to I mean up to 19,000 right here. So basically 19, right, down to 18.3. Okay, so but remember, if you did not short at you know, 24, I just don't have any target for you. But if you shorted at 24, that's our target. Just take like 50% profits right here and put a stop loss and let the market do the work. All right, but if you try to enter right now, I just don't have any you know, entry position, because it is quite dangerous, right, to be shorting as of now. Even though everything is pointing down, anything could happen. You know, your risk going to be pretty much very high shorting BTC below 21k. Okay, in case we get some sideways correction, right, until basically September, because we only got like 4 or 5 days to close this month. So we just have to be very cautious, trying to be bearish after the breakdown. Okay, let's see. So now let's go ahead and take a look at BTC on the higher time frame. Okay, so but we're going to stay with the 3D time frame, right? So, and I just updated a short video update, right, regarding these 3D moving averages and all that good stuff, right? So on the 3D, as I said, right, previously, whenever we cross bullish, right, on our 3D moving averages, we tend to get a macro bull trend, just like what happened back in June 2012 right here, right? We got a bearish crossover to indicate the bear market, right? Back in September 2014, we got the bullish crossover right here, November 2015, and from $300, and we pumped all the way up to 20K. Got the bearish crossover in summer 2018, got the bullish crossover in basically again summer 2019 and all that good stuff. All right, so now we just got a back in January, right? We talk about the bearish crossover right here. So it is still bearish, so we just have to be very, very patient, right, for the macro bull market. It doesn't mean you cannot be buying BTC on on a macro scale like 20K. If it drops down to 16K, it is still going to be a good buy. If it drops down to 13K, it is still going to be a good buy all the way down to 10K, because no one knows where the absolute bottom going to be, but it could be anywhere below 20K, let's say 10 to 20K. It could be anywhere in that range. Okay, so something to basically keep in mind going forward. So for the confirmation of the bull market, remember, your confirmation, right? You might get your confirmation, like let's say after BTC pumps like 100%. Okay, so that's why you don't want to basically wait for these moving averages to cross bullish to start like a DCA, because you might be buying at higher prices. It is always better to buy when these moving averages are they're all pointing down, like a strongly, like what they're doing right now. Okay, so it is at BTC on the macro level, it is still at a very good level to be accumulating. Okay, so now let's take a look at it on the monthly. So if we take a look at BTC on a monthly basis, as I said back in early January, okay, if we retest our monthly 21 EMA, right here, if we retest our monthly 21 EMA and close below it, we're going to drop at least 50%, 45 to 50%, and that's exactly what happened. So 50% below your monthly 21 EMA, it is always a good buy, and we drop like 55% below our monthly 21 EMA. Okay, and I'm talking about on a macro level. I'm not talking about like buying BTC at 18 to 20K and it drops down to like a 17K, and you're gonna be like, oh, I'm getting wrecked and all that good stuff. Because these buys, right, they are for the next, like let's say bull cycle, for the next bull market peak in 20 or 25 and all that good stuff, right? So you take a look at it right here, back in March 2020, we dropped right here over nearly 50%, right, below the monthly 21 EMA. If you take a look at it right here, back in 2018, we did the same thing, right, by dropping nearly 50% below the monthly 21 EMA. So 50% below the monthly 21 EMA, 9 out of 10, it is a good buy. Could we drop lower? Yes. Okay, but for the macro level, right, it really doesn't matter if one is buying BTC at 20K, 18K, 19K, whatever. Okay, 13K, 16K, whatever, right? The next bull market peak could be anywhere between like 150 to 200K. Okay, and once we hit those levels, right, most people are going to be calling for like a $1 million BTC and all that good stuff, right? And they're going to be starting to buy BTC around like a 150, 120 and all that good stuff, and sucker could even dump back to retest the previous bull market peak. And you're gonna have to wait for another 4 year cycle. Okay, so something to keep in mind. BTC, it is still pretty it is still pretty bullish, okay, on the macro level, because we're still making like higher lows on the macro scale. Okay, we're still making high lows. Okay, so now let's take a look at BTC on a quarterly basis, right? So on the quarterly time frame, we talk about the quarterly 21 EMA back then, okay, after we closed the last quarterly cycle right here. Okay, we were projecting if we get a big dump, right, the next huge macro accumulation going to start at the quarterly 21 EMA, and the quarterly 21 EMA was around like, let's say 21K plus minus 10. So that's why our macro target directional move back in June actually made, right? When BTC was around, like, let's say 32K, we were calling for the 21K plus minus 10. So as of now, we're not closing yet below the quarterly 21, but at the same time, even if we close below the quarterly 21, I just don't expect BTC to break below the quarterly 21, right? Very easily. So something to keep in mind, because right here, if you take a look at it, it took like 3 quarters, right, to break out right there, to get a final breakout. So we just got our first breakout, so it could take like few quarters to stay between, like, let's say 16K to 24K. We just don't know. It could be anywhere between 18K to 25K also. Okay, meaning like we could get another candle, right, like that in Q4. Okay, we just don't know if the candle going to be bearish or bullish, right? So we're just going to leave it neutral, right, like that. So we don't know. We could get another big rejection, something like that in Q4, where price action just going to stay just above like a 16 or 18K, something like that, depending on where we're going to close at. Okay, so that's why I'm not projecting 10K, right, this year. I mean this quarter. Okay, possibly end of Q4 we could get 10K or something like that, right? Unless something crazy happens, right, and we dump all the way down to 10K. Okay, but as of now, it will take a while, right, to retest the this quarterly low right here, the Q4 2020 lows, 10K right here. It'll take a while. Okay, it'll take a while. Even if you go back to 2019, you can see like the second quarter of 2019, it took like 3 quarters to retest the bottom right here. So I just don't know. Okay, I just don't know how long it'll take to retest this one. Okay, so just be cautious if you're looking for like a 10K next month, or like a 10K in in November and all that good stuff. It could take a while. All right, so now let's take a look at BTC on a macro level, right? Let's take a look at it in terms of Fibonacci. So in terms of Fibonacci, we could just take a look at it on a monthly, right? So you could draw the your Fibonacci in 2 different ways. Okay, the first way to draw your Fibonacci, right, based on the macro view right here, you could draw it from your swing low. I'm gonna do it properly for Leroy right here. Swing low 31.50. Okay, that's your swing low, right? And your swing high up to 69K. Right? So if I draw the Fibonacci from this range up to 69K, right? Right now we're sitting at 382. Okay, and BTC loves to retest like let's say 50% to 0.68, right? So 50% pullback going to be at 14.6. That's going to be the 50% pullback based on the macro level. Depending, it doesn't matter what we do between like 17 to 25, okay, on the lower degree, but we just talking about like the directional move. Okay, so that's the first way of drawing it. Okay, the second way of drawing it, you could draw it from your swing low right here at 38.77, right? Let's just say 38, right? 3800, right? So if you draw it from 3800, right, your 50% pullback going to be at 16.2. That's why I keep mentioning 16.2. Okay, but we can't ignore like 0.618. 0.618, it is at 11, give or take 11.7. But we will discuss 11.7 right down the road, because our, let's take a look at the 100 EMA. Coinbase doesn't have 100 EMA, but our 100 EMA, it is right around like a 12K. The 100 EMA, the 100 SMA on the monthly, it is right around like a 20 right around like a 10k area, 10 to 12k. Let's do this so we can be precise, right? So our 100 EMA, right, it is at 16.6 as of now, right there, right? And our 100 SMA, it is at 12k right here. Okay, so that's the next blue box we got to pay attention to on the macro level, right? If we get more volatility below the below the 17k area. Okay, but once again, I'm not expecting BTC to retest these lows in September. Okay, but anything could happen, right? So just be cautious. So guys, don't forget to hit the likes, right, if you find the content useful, right? I don't know. I'm not looking for Ether bottom. I just updated the Ether pivot points. We'll talk about Ether later on, and we'll talk about these pivot points. But I'm not looking for bottoms, right? I'm not looking for tops. Okay, I wasn't looking for Ether top, right? And we caught the top. Okay, I wasn't looking for the BTC top, and we caught the top. Okay, so we just go by the strategy, whatever the indicators say, right? We just go by that. Okay, I'm not looking for bottom. Once again, if you're looking for the absolute bottom, good luck. Okay, the bottom could even be like a 17.5. Okay, BTC might not even break 17.5. That's why I'm saying just have to accumulate, right? 20k plus minus 10%, right? That's it. Okay, and if we drop down to 16.2, a 50% pullback, as I just said right here, right? If you're using your Fibonacci right here, right? 50% pullback going to be at 16.2, or if you want to wait for the 0.618 of the entire move, you wait for 0.618. Okay, and you could get some bounces and all that good stuff. And once your 3D EMAs cross bullish and all that good stuff, you could be confident the trend, the bottom was already in, right? But if you sit right here looking for the bottom, guys, I'm not gonna do that. Okay, I did that last bull market, and I started being very bullish on Ether around like $300, right? When Ether, the Ether bottom was right around like $80, $90. You see what I'm saying? So don't be looking for the bottom, otherwise you will be left behind, and you will be buying BTC around like a 70k, or Ether around like a $2,000, $3,000, $5,000. This we got a CME gap also around like a 37.50, 37.20, right? I talked about it back in 2019 and all that good stuff. But even back in 2019, when bulls were looking for the gap at 9,500 range, in our premium we said we're not waiting for the gap. We're not waiting for the gap. We were buying at 10k. Okay, we were buying at 10k. Everyone was waiting for BTC to retest like the 9,500 range gap, right? Something like that, right? And we bounced back up. Okay, so so just be cautious how you look at how you want to look at the market. Pay attention to your indicators, especially your MACD and RSI. At least for me, okay, those two indicators are good enough, right? In addition to my moving averages. Okay, everything else, I'm just going to use it to get like extra confirmation, but I don't want to extensively be using like 20 indicators to just basically spot the trend. If you spot the macro trend, you're good. The hardest thing is like to spot the macro trend, and we did very well spotting the macro trend right after we broke out below our 3D 21. If you've been following me, right, back in November, late November, we said it's time to be cautious, right? It's time to be cautious because let's do this on the 3D. Okay, back in November, right here at the very top, okay, right here in our premium and public group, we said now it's time to pack our bags. We open and close a candle below the 3D 21. Okay, MACD is negative. We don't know if this is going to be the top, but it is just time to pack our bags until we get a proper reversal pattern. Okay, and you know, ever since we we spotted the top right here, we haven't seen yet a proper reversal macro directional move. So we just staying with the trend. Okay, right here we caught the absolute bottom right there, but our goal wasn't basically to just catch the bottom. It was just to basically trade the setup. Okay, we caught the bottom right here, 29.5. okay, at the very bottom, on July 21st. Okay, but I don't basically trade just to look for bottoms. Okay, especially in advance. Okay, like 2 years bottom and all that good stuff. Hell yeah. Hey, welcome back, Kevin. Thanks a lot for tuning in. So yeah, so now let's go ahead and take a look at Ether. So Ether, I'm just gonna cover the pivot points today, right? And I'm gonna go for some chart requests after that, right? So Ethereum, the pivot points for Ether, the upper level pivot point is like 3150, right, down to a 2850. Okay, that's the macro, our previous macro resistance, right? In terms of like a support and resistance and all that good stuff. Okay, our secondary pivot point, right? It is 1710, 1950. Okay, if you just want to look at it on a monthly basis. Okay, it does have a a higher pivot, right, somewhere around like a 2050 up to 2150, but that's on the lower degree. But on the macro level, on the monthly and higher, right, 1710 up to 1950 is good enough, and just have to be patient after that, right? So the next lower pivot point, we talk about it before the dump right here. We enter our short back in June, right, 1950, right, up to 2050, and we said up to 2150 actually, right, because that was the 3-day time frame, and we said 1050 down to 1950 going to be our next pivot. So that was a 50% drop from our 2000 short entry and all that good stuff, right? Nearly 50% drop. We drop all the way down to 880 and all that good stuff, right? So our next macro pivot point, I'm not saying that's going to be the bottom or if Ether going to retest it, right? Our next macro pivot going to be at 650 down to 550. Okay, but I don't expect once again Ether to retest like 650, 550 in August or even September. So something to basically keep in mind, because we still got a pivot point right here. We have to respect 1050, 950, right? Depending on volatility, right? It could even be somewhere around like 1150 or 1250. We don't know, okay? But the sideways correction right here going to be pretty important to pay attention to in sometime in September, and all that good stuff. And if we break it, or if we get enough data, enough divergences, indicators, staying negative and all that good stuff, we will pay attention to a 650 to a down to like a 550 range, which is going to be a good level for the next like a short-term swing up to like a 850 to a 950 or even $1,000 right here. Okay, so that's the next macro pivot to pay attention to, right? But the first pivot, once again, 1050, 950, it is still a good level. If you took some profits anywhere above like a 1710 up to 1950, you want to be reaccumulating right here again. Okay, just in case we get another bounce back up to 1710 to 1950, and then basically either retest the bottom, right, move sideways, go to the upside, right, or retest the lower pivot. We don't know. Okay, but we just have to respect these 50% to 40 to 50% drops, right, between these supports and all that good stuff, right? So I'm going to take a look at the chat room for any chat requests. Mandy shorted from 23.5. Okay, we shorted just about like a 24k and high around the 3D 21. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Make sure to hit the likes and subscribe to the channel. Join the public Telegram group, link in the description. You can also join the premium group, link in the description. Okay, we've been spot on BTC and Ether, the whole 9 months. Okay, since like November, guys, we've been calling for the macro directional move, especially the first week of December. We started crushing BTC and Ether and all that good stuff. All right, so if you guys don't have any question, right, I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at BTC on a 6-hour basis. So when we take a look at BTC on a 6-hour basis, we just got a big dump, right, on a 6-hour basis, right? And I've been saying it, okay, whenever you get a big dump, right, be cautious, right, because price action could be pushing back up to your 6-hour 21. That's why I was not basically doing anything but just waiting for the 6-hour 21 EMA to get the job done right here. And we did get a flat correction at the same time, so hopefully most of you guys caught the flat correction. Big volume right here, so that's a big volume I've been talking about, right, over the last few days and so on. So that's a big volume on the 6-hour. So that's the biggest 6-hour sell volume since when? Since right here back in June, okay, before the June 18th bottom. So that was like a June somewhere around like a June 13th, and we dumped like for the next 5 days after that. Okay, so it is a big volume, so you just have to pay attention to it. All right, I mean, I don't know, I don't see any upside move for Ether. So the Ether dominance was pretty high. I said it when the Ether dominance hits like 21%. I was like, guys, we're getting more indicators or more indication that Ether is tapping out around 2000, okay, especially after we hit 1950, right? So the Ether dominance was pretty high. Ether could basically get a temporary bounce, because if the dominance decides to basically give us a flat correction right here before dumping lower, it means like Ether is temporarily, okay, bottoming, meaning like it could do something like that, okay, during the weekend. Okay, and if you get this pattern, I said it, this pattern is a signature move for Ether. That's why in our premium, when we were dropping, okay, even though we were bearish on Ether, what I said was like, don't be too bearish, because we're not going to get a vertical move. Okay, Ether will give us some sort of sideways correction right here. Okay, so just be cautious for Ether to retest like a low 1700 range. We know 1710 is a pivot point, right, for us, right? So just be cautious in case we get the flat flat correction, and at the same time get the head and shoulder pattern right here. Okay, so it is still going to give you a directional move, right, down to right here. Okay, $1,200. Okay, and our target for Ether is what, 1350 down to 1250 range, 50% to 0.618. So don't get caught up, right, with the sideways correction. It can bounce back up, really. It can bounce back up to a 1710. I don't know if it does, right, if it will bounce back up to a 1710, but if it does, just know why it is bouncing back up and not FOMO. Okay, because we don't care about what's going on in this range, right? We don't care. We just care about the direction. Okay, the direction hasn't shifted yet, has not shifted yet to the upside. Okay, so, and the only reason I'm saying this move is, if you take a look at the Ether dominance once again, okay, if it does something like that, it means Ether USD will have to bounce back up. Okay, Ether loves these flat correction just like that. Okay, another one right here. Okay, so if it does something like that, just know it is likely to retest like a 18% dominance, which is going to be a good whooping 12% drop. Okay, but I think it is a 50-50 move to retest the 20%, 20.3%. Okay, it is a 50%, right? I mean, it is a 50-50 move, right? All right, guys, I'm just gonna call it a day. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to join the public Telegram group, link in the description, and don't forget to hit the likes needed, right? So and all that good stuff. Thanks a lot for watching, guys.